A Chinese girl 9 months old, was adopted by a Spanish couple. However, 13 years later, she mysteriously disappeared and was murdered. Shockingly, her adoptive parents became the prime suspects. While the murderer was eventually convicted, the motive remained unclear, and the truth of the case remained elusive. This case caused a major stir in Spain. In 2024, a TV series titled The Death of Asonda was released, based on this very story. In Spain, due to a declining birth rate, international adoptions became increasingly common. By 2004, Spain had become the second largest country for international adoptions, just behind the United States. The adoption process for children from China was relatively simple, and it allowed adoptive parents to feel a sense of goodwill, especially since the costs, about €10,000 for fees and travel, were no obstacle for an elite couple like Rosario and Alfonso. As a result, they decided to adopt a child from China. The girl was born on September 30, 2000, in China, and was abandoned shortly after birth. When she was 9 months old, Rosario and Alfonso adopted her, and they named her Asunda, while keeping her Chinese name as part of her full name. However, tragedy struck just 1 week before Asunda's 13th birthday. On the early morning of September 22, 2013, a man named Alfredo, driving drunk with a friend, discovered Asunda's body on a dirt road. She was found with disheveled clothing, barefoot, and with signs of being bound. The two men, fearing they would be caught for drunk driving, drove back to the nightclub before returning to report the body to the authorities. The police quickly confirmed the girl's identity and notified her adoptive parents, Alfonso and Rosario. In fact, the couple had already reported Asunda missing on the evening of September 21. When they received the news of her death, Alfonso's reaction was strange. He murmured, "Asunda is definitely dead. I just hope she wasn't violated." The medical examiner's report revealed that Asunda had taken a dose of lorazepam, an anti-anxiety drug, that was 9 times the usual adult dose. Overdose of the drug can lead to coma, and it was determined that she died due to loss of motor function, which led to suffocation. Even more chilling, the examiner found traces of lorazepam in her hair roots, indicating that she had been taking small doses of the drug for at least 3 months, meaning she had been secretly drugged over a period of time. Rosario was from a prominent family in Santiago, the capital of Galicia, Spain. Her father was a well-known lawyer and honorary consul of France in Santiago, and her mother was a respected professor of art history at the university. Rosario originally wanted to study psychology, but under pressure from her parents, she chose law. She was diagnosed with mild depression during college and often relied on medication to sleep. After graduation, she studied in the UK, then returned to Spain to take over her father's law firm and assumed his honorary consul role. Alfonso, a journalist for La Voz de Galicia, came from a wealthy family in the Basque city of Bilbao, but his family's fortune had been squandered by his father. Rosario's parents were pleased with his background, and the two married in 1996, living in a luxurious penthouse apartment provided by Rosario's parents. In late 1999, due to Rosario's concerns about having children, she had lupus and feared it might be passed on to her child, the couple decided to adopt. They completed the adoption of Asunda in just over a year, a remarkably short time for such international adoptions. Asunda was the first Chinese child to be adopted in Galicia, and given Rosario's family's influence, the adoption attracted significant local attention. Rosario often stated in interviews that she would provide Asunda with the best life and education possible. By the age of 6, Asunda was already learning multiple languages and excelling in school. She was even advanced to a higher grade. In addition, Rosario hired high-level teachers to guide Asunda in the arts, such as ballet, violin, and piano. However, despite Rosario's claims that Asunda was eager to take these lessons, it was clear that Asunda often resented being pushed into these activities. In 2011, this seemingly perfect family faced a major change. Rosario planned to send Asunda to the UK for a year-long exchange program to improve her English, but the plan was delayed when her mother suddenly passed away, followed by her father 8 months later. The elderly couple had left a will that bequeathed their estate to Rosario and set aside a large sum for Asunta's education. After the death of her parents, Rosario began a period of rebellion. She resigned from her honorary consul position, closed down her father's law firm, and switched careers to become a freelance legal consultant. Shortly afterward, she began an affair with a wealthy businessman, despite the fact that he was married and his wife was pregnant. In early 2013, Alfonso discovered Rosario's affair. However, Rosario was determined to separate from him, and they began living apart. 3 weeks later, Alfonso rented a small apartment near Rosario's house, claiming that he wanted to care for their adopted daughter. In reality, he hoped to reconcile with Rosario, especially since she had inherited a significant fortune. Alfonso's harassment led to Rosario suffering a nervous breakdown and being hospitalized. He appeared to take advantage of this situation, being overly attentive to her. Although the couple's relationship seemed to improve, Rosario had no intention of ending her affair or reconciling with her husband. Asonda appeared emotionally unaffected by the changing dynamics between her adoptive parents. She seemed to have accepted her role in this complex family drama, but her life would take a tragic turn. That summer, she spent little time with her parents, traveling with the family's maid and later with her godmother. No one expected that this would be her last summer. When school resumed, Asonda's routine seemed unchanged, filled with extracurricular activities, time spent with her adoptive parents, and evenings watching The Simpsons. But on September 21, 2013, she suddenly disappeared. On the night of September 23, 2003, Rosario and Alfonso reported their 12-year-old adopted daughter, Asunda, missing to the police. They explained their day as follows: the three of them had lunch together at Alfonso's small apartment. Afterward, Asunda, eager to watch her favorite show The Simpsons, ran ahead to their home. The plan was for them to go to the beach the next day. Around 7 p.m., Rosario drove alone to a country villa in Teo to pick up swimsuits, while Asunda stayed home to do homework, and Alfonso remained in the apartment reading. When Rosario returned home around 9:30 p.m., she found Asunda was gone. After trying to contact friends and family without success, Rosario called the police. During the report, Rosario appeared frantic, even suggesting that she might have forgotten to lock the door. At that moment, Alfonso reminded her to mention an incident from 2 months prior. On the night of July 4, Rosario had been awakened by Asunda's screams and witnessed a tall, burly man wearing black clothes and latex gloves holding Asunda down. The man fled after knocking Rosario aside. Rosario explained that she hadn't reported the break-in because the police rarely solved such cases, and she didn't want Asunda to feel unsafe in their home. 3 hours later, Alfredo called the police to report that he had discovered Asunda's body. An investigation soon uncovered inconsistencies in the couple's statements. Friends and family confirmed they hadn't received any emergency calls from Rosario, and bank surveillance footage showed Rosario leaving Alfonso's apartment alone at 5:28 p.m. and driving toward Teo at 6:12 p.m. The gas station's cameras even recorded Asunda sitting in the passenger seat of Rosario's car. When confronted with this, Rosario changed her story, claiming she had taken Asunda to the villa and then returned her home because she wasn't feeling well before going to her appointment. However, after police reviewed 33 surveillance videos of her route, none showed her car in the area. When further questioned, Rosario claimed the confusion was due to memory loss from medication. Police also noticed strange behavior from Rosario at the Teo villa. Asunda's body had been found just about 4 kilometers from the villa. When police arrived at the villa and informed Rosario not to touch anything, she excused herself to use the bathroom and rummaged through the trash bin on the second floor. They discovered an orange rope in the bin, identical to the one found near Asunda's body. The next day, when police returned to the villa to investigate further, they found Rosario casually eating snacks and laughing outside while the media gathered. Her demeanor raised further suspicions regarding her reaction to the death of her adopted daughter. An autopsy revealed that Asunda had a large amount of lorazepam, a drug used to treat depression, in her system. Rosario had struggled with depression since university, even spending 2 weeks in a private psychiatric hospital in 2009. She had also expressed frustration with Asunta's rebellious behavior, which was mentally exhausting for her. Several months before Asunta's death, she showed abnormal symptoms, including falling asleep during music classes, feeling sluggish in ballet lessons, and complaining to her teachers about taking white powder from her parents. The couple claimed it was for treating allergies, but the school nurse confirmed Asunta had no allergy history. 3 weeks before the murder, Asunta took an unprecedented sick leave, with Rosario attributing it to Asunta's negative reaction to medication. This didn't raise alarms at school at the time. On September 24, after the autopsy, Asunta was cremated by her adoptive parents at the funeral home. Before the casket was placed into the incinerator, Rosario and Alfonso were seen taking selfies in front of the coffin. During the funeral, midway through the service, Rosario was arrested by the police. Shortly after, Alfonso was also arrested. Asonda was nearly 1.6 meters tall and weighed 55 kilograms, while Rosario stood at 1.5 meters, so it was unlikely she could have moved Asonda's body alone. Witnesses reported seeing the father and daughter together on the road near Teo, and it was speculated that Alfonso may have been hiding in the back seat of the car to avoid being filmed by surveillance cameras. Investigators also discovered that Alfonso had purchased large quantities of lorazepam, 125 pills in total over 7 months, without any plausible explanation for where the medication went. Rosario, meanwhile, had discontinued her medication, and this strange pattern raised more questions. Furthermore, a search of Alfonso's computer revealed disturbing material, including photos of Asunda in sexually suggestive poses, dressed in fishnet stockings, and heavy makeup. While he claimed these were like boys dressing in their mother's clothes, the autopsy showed no signs of sexual assault. The police placed both Rosario and Alfonso in adjacent cells with wiretaps. In their private conversations, Alfonso scolded Rosario, suggesting that he may have been the mastermind behind the murder. The trial began on October 1, 2015, and both Rosario and Alfonso denied the charges. They were eventually sentenced to 18 years in prison, a verdict that sparked outrage in Spain. At the end of 2017, Rosario wrote a lengthy letter, claiming her innocence. She had attempted suicide 3 times during her time in prison and finally succeeded on November 18, 2020. Upon hearing of her death, Alfonso simply grunted in response. There are various theories about the motives behind the murder. Some believe that Rosario and Alfonso were after the inheritance left to Asunda by her maternal grandparents, with the intention of quickly inheriting her wealth by disposing of her body. Others suspect that Rosario may have murdered her adopted daughter because she feared Asunda could inherit property from her biological parents, or that Asunda witnessed something she shouldn't have. A third theory is that Alfonso developed feelings for his adopted daughter, and Rosario, jealous, killed her, with Alfonso as an unwilling accomplice. Another suggestion is that Rosario, who may have had narcissistic tendencies, killed Asunda as she grew into her own independent person, an action that may have been motivated by a desire to maintain control. None of these theories have been definitively proven, and with Rosario's death and Alfonso's continued denial of his involvement, the true motive remains a mystery. In response to the case, China has raised its requirements for international adoptions, including more rigorous psychological evaluations and post-adoption monitoring to prevent similar tragedies. At the location where Asunda's body was discovered, people placed toys, candles, and flowers, with a wooden board reading, "No compassion, no feelings, no heart," a condemnation of the model parents who caused her death.